Question set 4. You have given the institute to develop the school system of Kagalu Mahavidyalaya. Your part in this software is to create a database. With this software, you can easily manage all student information, all teacher information, class schedules, etc. The first question is, use Kagalu Vidyalaya DB as the name of the database. Draw ER diagram. So they have given specifically to draw ER diagram. So I choose SQL Workbench to design the database. And go to File, New Model, and add diagram. And I'm going to edit the database name as Kagalu Vidyalaya DB. So my second question is, create a table to store student information and their guardian information. Follow the instructions below when creating this table. So they have given me the column names, index number, first name, last name, gender, contact number and address for the student table. So the data type for all these columns was jar and the length is different. So the column names for the guardian table, guardian ID, first name, last name, gender, contact number and the data type is varchar for all these columns and length is different. So let's start. Now I have created a table. So I'm going to name this table as student, and the first column is index number and the first column is index number, and here I set the data type as varchar because the user can enter any special characters, numbers, letters for the data type varchar. So that's why I set the data type as varchar, and I'm going to set the length as 10. And the second column is first name of the student. There I set the data type as varchar because of the reason I told before, and the length as 45. The third column, last name, there also I set the data type as varchar and the length as same as before. So the third column is the gender. There I set the data type as varchar and the character length as 10. The next column is contact number. So a phone number in Sri Lanka contains 10 numbers, so because of that I set the character length as 10 and the data type as varchar. And the last column is address. For that I set the data type as varchar because address contains numbers, special characters and letters, and there I set the character length as 60. Then in this table I set the primary key as index number as the primary key because when considered to other columns, index number will not repeat, so that's why I set the index number as primary key. And in here also I put the ticks in not null, because not null mean enforces a column to not accept null values, then the field must contain a value. Because of that, I put ticks for the not null. And I have successfully created the student table. So you can see there the student table, and now I am going to create the guardian table. First I set the name as guardian, and the first column is guardian ID. So here also I set the data type as varchar and the character length as 10. And the second column is the first name of the guardian. So I set the data type as varchar and the character length as 45. The third column is last name. There also I set the data type as varchar and the character length as 45. Then the next column is gender. For gender must be female or male. So because of that I set the character length as 10 and the data type as varchar. And the next one is contact number. So phone number must contain 10 digits, so that's why I set the character length as 10 and the data type as varchar. In this table I set the guardian ID as the primary key, because when considering to the other columns, guardian ID will not repeat, so that's why I set the primary key guardian ID. And then now I am going to put the ticks for not null, because a guardian must have first name, last name, gender, so those are important fields. So that's why I set not null. Then the guardian must enter the records. So you can see I have successfully created the guardian table. And then I have successfully done my first question and the second question. Then my third question is name the relationship between the two tables, student and guardian, that you set up above. Mark it in the ER diagram you created. So now I am going to set the relationship between these two tables. So let me explain the relationship between these two tables. So for these two tables I set the relationship as one to many, because a guardian can have many students, because when we considering a school, some students may stay in a hostel and go to this school. Then those students, the guardian of those students is the owner of the hostel or their guardian in the hostel. So that's why I choose one to many relationship for these two tables. And also student have parents, so that is also one reason. Now I have completed my third question. Then my fourth question is teacher teaches several subjects and one subject teaches several teachers. Create a teacher and subject table using the appropriate relationship. Follow the instructions below to create this table. Create an ER diagram. So there they have given me the column names as teacher register number, first name, last name, gender, contact number and the email. So for these columns they given me the data type as vacha and the length is different. For the subject table they have given two columns, name, subject ID, subject name and the data type is vacha and the length is different. So let's start. Now I have done making a part of the database and this one is the last part. So I'm going to create the table teacher. I name the table as teacher and the first column is teacher register number. There also I set the data type as vacha and the character length 10. So the second column is first name. There I set the data type as vacha and the character length as 45. The last name is the third column. Then there also I set the data type as vacha and the character length as 45. Gender column. There also I set the data type as vacha, but I set the character length as 10 because the gender must be female or male. That's why I set the character length as 10. Then the next column is contact number. Phone number contains 10 numbers. Because of that I set the character length as 10 and the data type as vacha. And the last one is email. So I set the data type as vacha and the character length as 60. So now I set the teacher register number as the primary key of this table, so it won't be repeat. That's why I set the primary key. And now I'm going to put ticks for not null. Then the user must enter values for the fields, and you can see I haven't put not null tick for email because some people doesn't have an email address. So because of that they can keep it empty, or if they have an email address they can fill it. So that's why I haven't put a tick for that. And now I have finished creating the teacher table. So you can see the teacher table. And now I'm going to make the final table, the subject table. I set the name as subject, and now I'm going to name the column as subject ID. And here also I set the data type as vacha and the character length 10. And the second column is subject name. So you can enter the data relevant to the subjects in this table. In here also I set the primary key as subject ID because it won't repeat. Then I set not null for these two columns because user must enter values for these two. So now I am going to make a relationship among these two tables. So let me explain the relationship. I choose many-to-many relationship to connect these two tables because in the question also you can remember they given a teacher teaches several subjects and one subject teaches several teachers. So they have specifically given the relationship in not a direct way, in another way. So understand the relationship. So that's why I thought to use many-to-many relationship for these two tables. As an example, for IT subjects, there are many teachers, and so that teachers can teach another subjects like English. So because of that, I think you can understand with that example the relationship I have used. So now I am going to make the relationship. So you can see they have automatically created a teacher has subject table, and this is the database they required for the Kagalu Vidyalaya. I think I have done it successfully, and now I am going to forward engineer this. Then I can identify if there are any errors. Yes, there are no errors, so I have done it successfully.